fabricated, ayy. Most of y'all be faking, ayy.
Let's sing along, Mike.
She elaborated, ayy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after all, millions know this record.
Do they?
Well, they do, but not. Yes, the guy just won a couple of Grammys. He has millions of fans. So it's so funny. I texted you, and I literally semi-jokingly said, "Do not ask me about this halftime show." And now we're leading with it just for a couple of minutes because I think it's pretty fascinating. And you said I'm a little behind on the DVR, and then within minutes I looked back at the Mike Gallagher Twitter feed, and he said, "Did I just have a stroke, or was that? I don't know what was the rest of your point about it? Was that just the most?
Well, I think the crowd must just be sitting there in a state of shock. I mean, you gotta, you pay a lot of money to go to the Superdome in New Orleans, and you expect a great night. Look, for the days of a wardrobe malfunction from Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Now those are the days.
Janet Jackson, she was great. Again, it ain't about Kendrick Lamar's blackness or even the. I think the biggest problem.
Blackness?
Because a lot of people.
What do you mean?
A lot of people said that it was racism that led people to bag on the Kendrick.
No, they're not saying that.
No, Prince was great. The Weeknd was great.
Michael Jackson.
Well, that's a bad example, but exactly.
But that was a great. But he had to put on a great show.
Absolutely,
are you kidding?
He did. Absolutely, he did.
Gosh, look. Of course, I know.
So what was the problem? So what would define?
It was garbage. That's the problem. The show was garbage.
Bad way to put it. Because
why?
If you go to see Kendrick Lamar, who has millions of fans, there was an artistic merit to it. We're old white guys. It wasn't in our wheelhouse. That's okay. That's thoroughly okay.
Listen, country isn't always in my wheelhouse, but I love a good country concert.
Well,
I like a good rap. I've seen rap music that I appreciate. What was the theme of that, Mark? What was the theme with Samuel L. Jackson? Samuel Jackson is Uncle Sam. What the hell was he talking about? Look, garbage is garbage. You don't have to tiptoe around and pretend. Well, there's a lot of people that like Kendrick Lamar.
There were people who loved that show, and it wasn't that it was badly.
No, they
wasn't. It was badly done.
No, they didn't.
It was unwise to choose him because
it was unwatchable.
So next year,
unwatchable.
But here's the difference. If next year, let's say they do George Strait, which I think would be great. There are people who don't have any use for George Strait. Would young urban blacks look at George Strait doing, Amarillo by Morning and react as negatively as you and I are to Kendrick Lamar? I don't. I'll tell you
how people would have reacted negatively. They should have done the Village People doing YMCA and brought Trump out there to do the Trump dance. That would have been the most successful halftime show of all time. But they would have lost their minds. Yeah, they don't get it. They would be upset about it. I mean, who cares? I mean, look, I was in this who cares mode about the whole thing only because I'm like you. I've spent years as a Cowboys fan hating on the Eagles. Yeah. Now I've got dear friends who are Eagles fans, and they've got a great football team, great coach. I love the Kansas City story, but I didn't have a real. I didn't have a dog in the hunt.
I was invested. I was invested for the Chiefs. They were America's team because it's defined by success and values and all kinds of which they seem to have. Love Andy Reid, love Patrick Mahomes. But wow, did they get their clocks cleaned? I did not see that.
Well, and look, I'm not as good at the game as you are. It just seemed to me as kind of a casual observer, the guy that had the horrible night, it was Mahomes. Yeah. Now you give all the credit to the Eagles defense, and that's true. They've got, but my gosh, the offensive line for the Chiefs just seemed non-existent. The Eagles were just, and I thought Mahomes looked shaky and flustered all night and rattled. I mean, uncharacteristically, terrible throws and a pick six, and just had a bad night. And it just shows you that when you got a marquee star like that, when you've got a quarterback where you've invested so much, it could all go south in a hurry if he's not on his A game. So
did you watch any commercials?
I did, and I liked them. I got blasted. Well, some were weird. How about seal as an actual seal?
I thought that was funny.
That creeped me out. That was creepy. Or the floating tongue.
That was Coffee Mate's Cold Foam with a Shania Twain soundtrack, and it actively made me swear I would never buy the product. That's
or the baby born with the fleshy cowboy hat.
There was
a weird stupid, weird, creepy stuff that was all kind of body parts. And I mean, but look, I like the Harrison Ford Jeep commercial. There are people that didn't like that message. Oh, he was attacking patriotism. I didn't get that.
First of all, I love him. He is so great in Shrinking, so great in 1923. Is that the one he's in? It's amazing. The guy has an incredible career in his early 80s, and I've always loved him. It's funny, though. Would you agree that Taylor Swift got booed because she committed the unwise act of divisive, polarizing politics a few months ago? Would you say that's true?
The reason I think it's true is because you can look at both of those figures, Donald Trump and Taylor Swift, who both went to the game. And they both got very different reactions from the crowd. Again. Now, what one could say who loves Taylor Swift, and you can't deny that she's a force of nature, she's a billionaire, she's a machine. You know, the argument is the reason she got booed is that there's too much of her. Well, if that's true, why did they
didn't get booed last year when there was way more of her?
And if that's true, there's way more of Trump today than there is Taylor Swift.
Course. So I think, nobody was booing political, him. So that the reason I ask is if Taylor Swift has had a little bit of damage, just a little bit of damage to her brand for going political, and everybody seems to have forgotten that Harrison Ford smeared Trump and insulted half of America in a little video a few days before the election. Oh, but I guess that's okay. So it's kind of weird.
Well, it's hard to find anybody in Hollywood who didn't smear Trump. I mean, it's very rare. The strangeness of the time we're in, the zeitgeist. It's so bizarre to see the way the country is embracing Trump and actually fulfilling his campaign promises. Last poll came out. I mean, he's well in the approval rating. I think CBS 53% approval rating. Some polls have him as high as 70%. The roar of approval that he got yesterday is very that was very meaningful to me because look at what the mainstream media tried to do and what people on social media did. When you're confronted with that kind of an image of a stadium full of football fans seeing Trump on the Jumbotron during the national anthem, and they roar their approval. What's left to do? Gaslight. They're lying and saying he was booed. He wasn't booed. If you look at social media right now, I'm looking at posts. Oh, he got resoundingly booed at this. No, he did. It's a lie. They're lying, Mark. You're sitting there watching the game with your own eyes and your own ears. He got a huge ovation, a huge roar of approval. So it does break people. They're not mad at Trump. They're mad at the country. And that's what we've got to remember. I shared with you a personal note this morning about a longtime friend of mine who wants to sever, I guess, an aspect of our relationship because for this particular friend, gutting U.S. aid is a bridge too far. And I'm thinking that's the hill you want to.
That's the straw that breaks the camel's back of the friendship is the USAID funding cut?
The bloat of U.S. aid.
Fraud,
as I've said. Well, but I've said over and over again, it's an organization that has done a world of good. We can't ignore that. I use the phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Make sure that the life-saving aid provided by this non-charity, remember, it's not a charity, this is a government agency, you got to sustain that. You got to keep that going. Nonetheless, for this particular years-long friend of mine, that's it. We're on two different sides. We're pulling, and you know, I know
we're on different sides. Hasn't he known that for years? Hasn't everybody who's fractured a relationship or a family, haven't they been aware of this? And I mentioned to the audience this morning, I'm noticing fresh waves of this. The election started it, and then everybody kind of got over it. Okay, he won. But now that Trump is in office and has been for 3 weeks today, right? They're noticing him actually doing things that everything that you and I love, the other side hates. That's kind of baked in. But some people hate it so much that they've decided to destroy the love that they have for friends and family members. It is starting again.
It is starting again, and it's profoundly sad. And I would point out, I hate the whataboutism, but the time that we could have done it to them was when leftists were burning down American cities over George Floyd, and they cheered it on. And you know what? We didn't say to them, well, you're dead to me. I'm done. That we didn't do that to them.
No.
We typically don't do that
we don't,
to them.
And we could go to liberal, because Mike, you and I are both proud to have liberal friends, occasional liberal family member. You know how easy it would be for us to get up in their face and say, you're okay with the killing of babies? You're okay with waves of illegal immigrants? You're okay with girls playing in boys playing in girls sports? You favor those things? You are out of my life. You know how easy that would be? We don't do it because we know that's not what you do as a human being.
You said earlier that it's so sad to see people fracture friendships and family over this. It's profound. Look, I admit, after I got this note from this years-long friend of mine, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I had a good cry. I don't like losing good people from my life, but I also, because I know that I'm drawn to people who disagree with me. I like having people who disagree with me in my life. I like robust debate. I like learning from them and where they're coming from. That's important to me. And this is not the only one. I've had a few, and I think I'm a little unusual from maybe you. I'm going to go a little out on a limb here. You say we all have liberal friends. I suspect I have more than maybe most, or more than you do. I think I have a lot of theater stuff and people I know that are just in a different universe from most sort of ordinary conservatives. And a lot of these people I find wonderful. They're kind in many cases. They're loving. In fact, the friend who really hurt me with this email today is somebody who's always reached out to me over the holidays because he knows I lost my parents at Christmas and knows about my loss of Denise and is kind. He's a good man. He's a good dad. He's a good father. He's a good husband. But you said it, Mark, it breaks them. It makes this hatred, they become completely irrational, it seems to me, and to a point where I hate to be mean here, but you say it. Hatred makes smart people kind of dumb and makes nice people kind of mean. They just turn into something that they're not, and it does break my heart on so many levels. But hey, so be it. I hope that time will heal. Look, let's look at what Trump is and again, for the record, just because this is fresh in my mind. I don't want the good things that USAID has done thrown out the window. Hopefully, Marco Rubio and the State Department will sustain it. We'll make sure that kids don't die. We don't want people to die. We don't want people to starve. But the bloat and the profound mismanagement of taxpayer dollars cannot be ignored. And I'm sick of us trying to pretend.
And Byron
Donalds, that's what they're doing.
Byron Donalds was on Real Time with Mar and did a great job of explaining this. Says this is so profound and the government is so bloated. Sometimes you've just got to go in and hit a massive pause button and then start from scratch and then see, okay, what should we be doing and what should we not? And that's what
Mark, look at the penny story. Can I give you some fake news? And I have to blame President Trump for a little bit for this. He gave a little bit of fake news. He said it cost 2 cents to produce 1 penny. He was wrong. You want to know what the real number is? According to the New York Times, according to Axios, the actual cost, according to the U.S. Treasury, in fiscal year 2024, 3.69 cents.
He undercut it.
It costs almost 4 times a penny to produce a penny. Now, by the way, that's stupid. So why in the world and now you're mad? We got he's taking on things large and small. He's taking, you know what's next? The Pentagon. He's going to look at the department. He's going to get rid of the Department of Education. You know what? That's why the Super Bowl stadium cheered yesterday.
The change is real.
Thank God he won.
Thank God he won.
And you know what? We're going to get through all this, and we're going to have moments where we're frustrated and we're sad, but so be it. You know?
And let me take a minute.
All right.
With the folks watching on the stream and the folks who watch sometimes the replay that you do, if there's angst and if there's ill will and blah, 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 let me offer something, if I may, to the Mike Gallagher audience as well as my own, to make everybody feel great, something that can truly unify, if anything can truly unify. And that's a trip you and I have made, one of my favorite trips for Food for the Poor. You went with me to Guatemala. It was magnificent to be with
You
you.
bet.
And we are taking a look at people in our hemisphere, some poverty like America will never see. We should help people in our own country, of course. But a one-time gift of $100 at Food for the Poor will feed 2 kids for a year. So if I can ask
Wow.
everybody listening to both our shows to go to 660amtheanswer.com, click the Give Life banner. And if you don't have $100, you got 20, we'll take it. And we appreciate it so much. And you can do it at 660amtheanswer.com and click that Give Life banner, or the phone number 855-916-HOPE, 855-916-HOPE. Thank you guys all so very, very much for helping us out and helping the truly needy in our hemisphere.
And to those who say that we conservatives are cold and cruel and we don't want to get, here's a perfect example of why they're wrong. You know, there's a perfect example of how hard you and I work for organizations like Food for the Poor. And I am so proud to stand with you. And I hope everybody listening today will go to 660amtheanswer.com and make a donation. And let's keep, fighting the good fight.
Good
Do it with a
things.
smile on our face.
Good things,
are
man.
coming.
Love you. Ready for the
love
Monday
you.
show.
Take care.
That's Mike Gallagher, ready for all of us on Monday, soon as we're done at 10 on 660 AM. The Answer.